And anytime you're ready to go.
Okay. Chandra, you ready to go, kid?
Yes, I am.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I will be filling in today. Patrick said he could not make it and he gives his regrets. Uh, we're going to do it a little differently, I guess, because of the fact that we are not in the chamber. So we're going to ask it certain things like when we do make a motion, if anyone doesn't like it, to let me know. If I don't hear anything or see anything, then that means the motion will have passed. And we'll just try to go with it smoothly as we can, hopefully with no glitches. But I know that Peter's taking great pains in making sure that it's a lot easier for us. So thank you very much, Peter. So right now I'm going to call to order, and it says the city clerk will conduct a roll call at the start of the meeting. It's already done. Uh, Under the approval of the agenda, if anyone has any changes they'd like to make, do it so now. Let me know. Okay, hearing none, the agenda is approved. So we will start off declaration of interest under Conflict of Interest Act. If there's anyone, we will continue on then. Our previous minutes, as you can see, everything was approved. And off we go if there's no questions. Presentations and delegations, I did not see any. So we'll continue on. Committees, Violet, could you please give us some of your feedback, back to school initiatives and COVID-19 across?
Yes. For the back to school initiatives, we did a number of things. The city had some educational pieces on our portal. We did promote safe and active routes to school. We did a little piece on city news on safety in school, getting back to school. We did an interview on Portuguese radio, and we have another interview tomorrow about safety and going back to school. So we're trying to use the media as much as we can. And with regard to the active transportation, we have actually tried to put a message out for Peel so that it's very similar. Um, don't don't get drives, walk when you can, rollerblade, bike, and so that's what we've tried to focus on this year for going back to school.
Okay, well, thank you. Any questions? I don't, you have, Violet?
So now I'll talk, if it's okay, about the COVID-19 and what we've done with the crossing guards.
Yes.
Um, all of our crossings have a social distancing sign on them to remind pedestrians to social distance. We also have all of our guards wearing masks. All of our pedestrian buttons at traffic signals are automatically going to come up on walk so that the guards and pedestrians do not have to hit the button while while the crossing guard is working. And all the guards started September 9th, even though there was a little bit of an orientation and we weren't sure how many children were going or students were going. We did start on September 9th on our full hours.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much, Violet. And we'll go on to correspondence. I do not believe we have any extra at this time, do we, Chandra?
No, no correspondence.
Thank you very much. Can anyone speak to new school openings from the Peel Board?
Max, we didn't see anyone from the school boards.
Okay, so
But well, yes, there
this
is
time,
actually people. There was a couple representatives from the Catholic School Board, but I don't know if they would want to say anything. This school trustee is not present.
Okay, so if there's no information on that, we'll just move on.
Okay.
So number 9 will be update from Kathy McDonald, but you're saying she's not in right now? She's not with us?
I haven't seen her on the list.
Okay. So again, we'll just pass that on and go into other new business.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going down. There we go. Site inspection reports. This is from Clark Boulevard. Review. Any questions or changes? Seeing none, we'll continue on. Grenoble Public School. Review park and ride. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll accept that. So future follow-up site inspections. I will let Violet speak to these, please.
These site inspections were from when we closed down in March. So we were scheduled to go to Kingswood Public School, St. Marguerite DeVille, and Goldcrest Public School. And then they were canceled due to schools being canceled. So we would have to follow up on those and reschedule them.
Okay, would you see the need to pass to place these on the next, at the next meeting because of what's happening right now with, with what's happening with COVID and how many children are coming to and from school?
I would like to suggest that we do them in October just to see what's going to happen with the schools, because we do have half the population or the staggered, and the population may change.
Okay, so do we want to make those dates now, or do we wait until October 1st meeting?
I'm going to suggest waiting till October 1st meeting.
Okay, so if there's anyone that would, the motion is that we just push these to next meeting. Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, we will do that. So the site inspection schedule, of course, there isn't any at this time. We will wait until October. Any information items? I see none. So we'll carry on to any questions from anyone.
Hi, through the chair. I have a question. It's Councillor Williams.
Okay.
Thank you. So through the chair, I'm just wondering what, I believe the benchmark for an outbreak in a school is more than 2 cases. Right now, we're just seeing 1 case in about 20 schools in the region. But I'm just wondering how this, if we're seeing a significant impact on how kids are, on, I guess, the need and the amount of school guard crossings that are crosswalk attendants that are being used, and if we're making or thinking of any long-term plans as if more students are coming through. Like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, do we know the number of crosswalking guards that are may not be needed, and are you, Violet, are you making any adjustments for that?
Through the chair, we did not have full school population until I think Wednesday, so we will be reviewing that. A lot of our crossings are very busy, and so we know some of the crossings that may have only had a small number of children. Therefore, we'll be looking at those. But there has been a lot of crossings have been very busy because some people don't want to put their children on the buses, so they're dropping them closer to the school, or they're walking with them. So it is something that we have thought about, and we will be monitoring. The other thing is there might be less children, but there might be more traffic around the schools too, so we have to monitor that. They might be off the bus and driving to the schools, so there might be less students, but the traffic may be more. So it's something we're gonna have to monitor and keep an eye on.
Okay, great. Thank you. That help answers my question. Thank you.
Now, I do have a question as well around the traffic around the schools. Is there anyone from traffic with us today?
Through the
Here,
chair,
yeah.
Max.
Yeah.
Craig, it's Craig. I'm here.
Oh, hi, Greg. How are you? I have a question. Are you monitoring the amount of traffic in certain schools? Once we know who has the most population of students attending, will you be sending out extra folks to just monitor how that traffic is flowing around those schools? Because I know a lot of people are not taking buses now.
So through the chair, Max, to answer your question, so not proactively, we are sending staff out reactively to service requests we've received, or if we have made any modifications to any of the roadways. So similar, we have made some significant modifications on Vauden and North Park, where we reduced 4 lanes down to 2 lanes and added cycling facilities. So those are the areas that we are focusing right now since the return of school.
Okay, that's great. I just got a request, and I don't know if you see it, Peter, from Charmaine Williams wants to come in. And Charles also wants to ask a question. Charles? Oh, you're muted. Okay.
The question,
Yeah, go ahead.
through the chair, the question I have is the crossing at McMurchie and Kingswood has been wiped out due to paving on the road. Is there something going to be done soon? Because it's quite dangerous. Traffic is quite, they speed up too much on that street, on McMurchie.
Through the chair, the pavement marking reapplication is part of the paving contractor's responsibility. So we will follow up with the contractor to find out when that is being done. And if that's all right, we can send an email to the clerk's department as an update to this group, if that's okay.
Excellent. Charles, any more?
Sorry, I have one more question.
Okay, Charmaine, yeah.
Yeah, this is Councillor Williams. Yep. Kathy McDonald says has a presentation and she's waiting for a link to be sent to her. So I'm just wondering if we could be on standby for her to enter into the meeting for her presentation. Kathy McDonald, the school trustee.
Yes. Peter, can you assist us with that?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So I've just resent the link to her.
Okay.
Councillor Williams, I don't know, is she going herself in terms of, because I don't have any material from her to present, so the clerk's office will not be able to assist.
Yeah, I think she'll just probably verbally give the update around what's going on in the schools. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll watch for her and then bring
Peter,
her
it
into
is a verbal presentation.
Okay.
It's just an update, really. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So while we're waiting on that, I'm hoping that everyone has been staying healthy and that we continue to stay healthy, especially now. And if anybody wants to come and sit in my pool for the next 20 minutes before I close it, come on down. Find a little bit of humor while we wait. So again, while we're waiting, does anybody else have any more questions that we could ask at this time?
So, through chair, I have a question
Okay, Mazir.
regarding the crossing guards. So, is the crossing guard is mandatory to wear the shields, or they're gonna wear only the mask?
The crossing guards are currently wearing the masks.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I have a question.
Again, Charles, go ahead.
For when we start doing the inspection, is there any special precautions for us as visiting the sites?
I would think, Charles, that we would have to maintain our distance, of course, as well as wear masks, as we have done in the past. If we are watching how many folks come by, we would have to distance ourselves from the sidewalk or find a place where we feel very comfortable. This is the time when I would think that if we limit the number of people that do go to these inspections, we don't need 5 or 6. If we can get by with at least having 2 members plus a crossing guard person attend each one, I think that would assist us, because the more people we have, the chances of doing something incorrectly grows. Violet, your thoughts?
One thought is the school going to want us to come in and introduce ourselves, or is it something that we should be maybe sending an email or giving them some sort of an electronic update on what we're doing? Are they limiting who goes into the school?
Well, yes,
That's
they
what I was
are.
gonna say. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, Renee, just go ahead, Renee.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because they do require you, if you're going to be at the school or near the school, you have to call and make an appointment. So you have to notify them, I think, in advance that we would be there.
I see no reason why we would go in.
But when you have to go in to talk to them, to let them know,
No,
you have
I
to,
believe sending an email to the principal
yes.
would be the best thing, because personally myself, I do not want to go into the school at this time. They have enough to do. Every time someone goes in, they have to go through the questions, and the office basically would be closed. So to introduce ourselves, I believe that we can come up maybe with a standard email, and the person who is actually doing the report that day would send it off to the principal.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So is there something that we should be looking at, Chandra, as making a generic form saying we're coming to do da, 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 and our group will be off-site, or we will be standing close by, or however we want to word it? Can we get something like that made up so that we have a standard?
I would leave that up to the traffic team to do, for Violet to lead on that one, because
Okay. Violet, what do you think?
They're the ones who are outside, they're interacting with the schools. And I can certainly send it to the school once it's a generic letter that we have on file.
Oh, okay. Violet, do you think we can work on something?
Yes, Mac. We have
Doing
a
the
book.
collective we.
We have a book with the principals of the schools, and I know they change. What do you think about us calling crossing guard staff, calling the day before or prior to the meeting and letting the school know? And then we can just call the school number instead of trying to track a certain person?
Either way, I'm good with the phone call. Just if will the message get to the right person? I know that if I send an email to the principal, and we can always get that updated version of who it is, because it's always updated online quite easily. I think doing email is better than a phone call, just because of how many phone calls they might be getting. But either way, I'm good with, as long as we have notified the school, I'm good.
Okay, so why don't we leave it up to the crossing guard staff to just send an email to the school, find out the correct email, and then let them know.
Sounds like a plan.
Also, just to interject, they're doing also track tracing. So if anyone from our group is going to be there, they need to know who they are in case anything does happen or something with us, so they can trace back to the people that were there.
Well, they would get that in our report.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
we put down who has attended.
Oh,
So yeah, and because we're going outside, I don't know how they would look at it, but if they would have that information when we send the report.
okay. Okay. Yeah, then that's covered.
Cool. Are we all connected now, Peter?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, I haven't seen Trustee McDonald join the session yet. I did send two emails to her with the connection, but she has not yet joined.
Okay. I think that maybe we should wait just a couple of more minutes, maybe 2 or 3. And if not, we can maybe send her an email saying that she, if she wishes, she can send us an email with her report or save it until October. But I was thinking that she probably wants to share things now. But I don't know.
Max, it's Chandra. The options would
Okay.
be, as you stated, to either send, she can send it a written presentation, points of what she needed to speak about. That
Yes.
can be circulated to the committee. Or we can defer the item to the next meeting, which is actually very soon, October 1st.
Yeah, it's very soon.
Yes.
So if we give her that option, Chandra, what do you think? I think that's a good idea. This way she doesn't feel like we've neglected her. I don't want that to happen.
Okay.
And I don't know if someone else is trying to come in or ask for
Mr.
chat.
Chair, it looks like a representative from
I-
the Dufferin Peel Catholic District School Board would like to provide an update.
Okay, please do.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. It's Christina Coops from Dufferin Peel Catholic. I just thought I'd maybe provide a quick update on what's happening with some online learning, because I think a couple members have brought up the fact that numbers at schools have decreased. So Dufferin Peel, specifically board-wide, we're looking at about 30% of the elementary population that have opted for online learning. And at the secondary level, around 25%. So the numbers are still changing, but maybe just the committee should also be aware that we're looking at doing another transition point for parents if they wish to switch models. That entry point again will be in November. So patterns might change between even now and November.
Christina, that pattern or change for November, is that all? I believe that's the same that the Peel District School Board would be doing?
Yes, it's the same at both boards. Yeah.
Yeah, so this way we know that at least from now till November, the change in population will be just move-ins type thing.
Exactly. So there are still a fair number of students that are attending school. So for us in particular, it's still 70% of the student population. Now, it's not broken down by Brampton, Caledon, Mississauga. We haven't done that analysis. It's just a board-wide.
Thank you. Any questions for Christina?
Yes, it's Peter Bryson here from Enforcement. I hope you can hear me. Through the chair, I was hoping to ask, there's been some discussion about the configuration of the schoolyards and entry onto school properties. I'm hearing that some of the schools may be actually blocking off the roadways and entrances to their parking areas because they might be using those areas for play surfaces. Just wondering if there's any truth to that, or if there can be an update provided, because we're trying to make sure that we can deploy our resources to the schools that obviously, one, have the most attendance, and two, if there is some limitation of on property parking, that may increase our concerns on the public highways. So wondering if there can be an update on that.
Well, through the chair, I think I am not aware of that happening at our particular school board, or if it is, I just haven't heard about it. I imagine the parking lots at our schools are primarily for teacher and staff parking. There isn't a whole lot that would be extra unless a school is, maybe at a lower capacity. But yes, the field area, the recesses, all that has changed. So it's my understanding that it's not like all at once, everyone out for lunchtime, it's all staggered. Same with recess. They're doing outdoor learning at various times and at various groups. So I wouldn't think that the parking lot would be a desirable place to have that outdoor time, but it's not to say it may be happening.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, I have Kathy on speaker, so hopefully be able to hear Kathy, because we're trying to send a new link to another email. It's not going through. Kathy, do you want to?
I just wanted to comment, like with the parking question, that I know they have closed off the access to the public to most parking lots. So, and again, it's just because a lot of the spots it's like parking is very limited. But in terms of our recess, it is staggered, right? So the kids have different, our doors are different entry points to assist with the flow of the students. So, but I don't think it's like violating any like city property. We're not blocking off any, it's just access to our parking lot to the public.
Sorry, Kathy, I'm having a really hard time hearing you properly.
Kiss and rides are open, but the schools that have kiss and rides, they are open. It's just the parking lot is closed.
Now, Kathy, you also wanted to update us on something else. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, I was just giving an update on basically what was happening in the school boards in terms of like our enrollment. And so we had, within the last week, we had almost 10,000 students switch to online learning. So what that entailed is that we technically had to do another reorg. So our online students won't start formal synchronous learning until next week, Monday. For now, they have a series of activities that are placed each day for them to complete. So there's no teacher in front of them teaching. They have not been assigned, because we are trying to totally revamp. So our online enrollment is almost roughly approximately 4,000 students. And as you can imagine, that's bigger than some school boards in Ontario. So the schools are set up as that online school is set up as an individual school per se. So you have principal, school, and the teachers that are assigned to the online schools aren't necessarily the teachers that the kids will be assigned to in the school. So in terms of, and then we have various entry points. So our last, we had to make a decision on the 10th. So we're trying to sort of see now, since that some students have said they didn't want to come back to in-school learning, but it's very difficult to accommodate people switching on a daily basis. So we have a pretty hard sort of stance on that, but we'll see how that's going to go going forward. So that was the main thing in terms of the our numbers. We still have kids walking. We have kids on buses. I don't know, because I missed the first part of the meeting, anybody spoke about the protocols with the bus. the new protocols that we have.
Kathy, the link has been sent to you if you want to just check your Gmail.
Okay. Okay. Let me check again. Okay. Yeah, okay, I see it again. Okay. Here's the link.
Modern technology.
I see, yeah, I can see to join now.
Now, Michael might have a question while we're signing in. Michael?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you're mute.
I had a question, just a comment.
Okay, Renee, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to advise that for observing at the schools and times when you're there, I do know from my children's school that they're doing staggered dismissal. So that's going to change also the amount of children and people walking at different times as well, just to make you aware of that.
Yeah. Okay. I know that a lot of schools are trying to do the staggered dismissal, but it can only be limited to a few times because they can't really change the hours of the day. But it is good to know because it's something that when we contact the school, they'll let us know that it starts instead of 3:15, it might start at 3:10 or 3:05. So it's good to know that. Thank you, Renee.
If I could again through the chair, Peter Bryson, just is there a standard model for those standard dismissals? Because that might change our enforcement concepts as well. Like right now, as you might imagine, we're also being taxed with a high volume of the COVID response. So a lot of our resources right now are being used in that realm. Obviously placing great importance on the school safety as well. I want to ensure that we can deploy our resources at the appropriate times into the most highly attended schools where there is actually people in those schools. So if we have those models, if there's a standard and we know that, if that could be shared, that would be great as well. If it's like every 5 minutes letting out or every 10 minutes, that would help.
Now, maybe the trustees can help us in this by, just to ask, because I know that the schools have to send in final schedules. So maybe it might be something that we can pick up through maybe the principals themselves or the superintendents or whoever looks after the scheduling once it's done, to say that even though our school's closed at 3:15, we're starting at this time to this time. That might help you. We need to get that from the board.
Mr. Chair, Trustee McDonald is in as an attendee now. I can unmute her microphone and it should be a better.
Perfect.
Go ahead, Trustee McDonald.
Hello, can you hear me?
Perfect.
Perfectly.
Oh, thank you so much. Sorry about that. I was waiting. It says waiting for the meeting was delayed and I was just waiting. I didn't know how to get in, but here I am. Max, I missed your question while I was trying to.
Okay. We were asked by our service folks whether or not there are schools that are, Renee brought up that some schools are doing staggered exits, dismissals.
Mm-hmm.
And we would like to find out if there's a way that we can find out when that is happening so that parking control, et cetera, can go at the right time. Because if it's off and people are changing it, it's going to be very difficult to deploy people. So is there any way that the school board can send a list of schools that have changed their dismissal times?
Okay, I could get that to you, but the thing is, it's not that the dismissal times have changed. It's just that instead of letting out all the kids at once, they're let out in 5-minute intervals. So I can give you the range because the dismissal time is basically the same, but they start a few minutes before because all the kids aren't dismissed at the same time. Okay, but I can request them to send that to parking control.
Right, because it would be a concern, of course, if there was like a 15-minute gap.
Okay.
You know,
And
or
that's what
something
it's
like
meant.
that.
Yes. It is a gap. Yeah. And we're just doing that to kind of lessen, especially for our walkers, like all parents at the same time congregating to get their kids. And at the schools too, we have different doors where the kids, so you have some parents that have, like say you have a grade 1 and you have a grade 4 student, they're now not coming out the same doors. So it might be at opposite ends of the building. So they pick up one child at one door and you kind of have to walk around to the other.
No, absolutely. It's a good thing to have it, and safety is first.
Yeah. But I will make a note of that, and I'll see if we can get the list to parking control. And who in parking control should I ask the list to be sent to?
If you could have that sent to Peter Bryson, I would appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. And Peter, what email could you tell me the email, please?
Yeah, it's peter.bryson, which is BRYSON at brampton.ca.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
I will. No problem, Peter. Yeah, so basically that was the main part of my update. I just wanted to know if you're interested in knowing what happens with the school bus, because our busing protocols have changed. Because basically what happens is if kids are in the same family, they're now required to sit together. We have a seating plan, so the kids have to adhere to that seating plan at all times. Like currently, for example, we have an outbreak. We're able to, not an outbreak, we have a kid as identified as having the COVID. It was not contacted in the school. It was from the, they got it from the community. So the 6 schools that the child would have had in contact based on the busing has been notified. But the Peel Public Health at this point say the risk of an outbreak is really low, because all the protocols were observed on the bus, and then the bus went through deep cleaning once that was discovered that the child was COVID positive. So we do have measures in place to track and also deep clean the buses if if a person is COVID positive. And also lots of parents are choosing not to use a bus anyway, so some are driving in. So traffic around the schools are a bit heavier, or vehicular traffic.
Any questions?
And then also kids that are not going in too. So,
any questions? I believe we had another person who wished to join us in this conversation.
I have a question for the school trustees.
Thank you, Violet.
A couple of things. Kathy, do you know the percentage of your students that are actually attending school, just approximately?
Yes, approximately 67%, I think, is the latest, and that get revised all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And are the students allowed to go home for lunch? And this is for both boards. Do the students stay there all day, or are they going home for lunches?
Going home for lunch is discouraged.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if it's all schools have sort of banned it totally, but that again, I could find out if, what happens if a child insists on going home for lunch. But we are discouraging that because there are always exceptions, like even with mask, we have to deal with anti-maskers. At this point, we haven't even have a consolidated plan as to how our board is dealing with the anti-maskers. We have children that have medical issues. So, for example, I can think of an issue of a child that's autistic, nonverbal, and has issues wearing a mask. So we have protocols in place for the staff supporting the child, as well as the social distancing requirements when the child is in the presence of other children. So, it's kind of, you always have these cases that you can kind of deal with as they come up. because we also have to look at the child's human rights. So, if they have a accommodation that's needed and they aren't able to wear a mask for a whole host of reasons. So, in terms of going home, I don't know if you have kids that have to have like special medication, if those kids will be allowed in. We do have kids, for example, that are medically fragile and need some kind of medical assistance from time to time throughout the day. So we have to balance how we get those kids' needs accommodated. So the long and short of the answer is we're trying to discourage kids from going home, but that's not to say if every single kid won't.
Okay, and one more question. Thank you.
Okay.
With regard to school times, we've received no changes in school times. So our crossing guards start 30, if they're near a school, 30 minutes before the bell. And if they're in front of the school, they stay 5 minutes. If they're further from the school, they might start 40 minutes. But at the end of the day, the guards are starting when the bell is going. So if the school gets out at 3, the guard is there from 3 to 3:30. So is the staggering starting at 3? Because it would be pretty hard to start staggering everything by 5 minutes prior to 3. If it was 3, there'd be no guard.
Okay.
And I believe Mississauga is the same. Where we just got the hours from the both school boards, and there's very little changes. So without knowing that, understanding that based on your hours, that's when the guard starts.
Okay. So you know what, Violet? I will get the school boards to also send you the times, the dismissal times too. I don't know if that would help.
You know,
they are staggered.
They start prior. So does the dismissal time start prior to the normal 3 or after the normal 3?
Well, I know
3.
Okay, so I know for some of them, like say it's 3, it will be prior to 3.
Okay. Well, that's going to have an impact on the city. That's something we're going to need to know. And then are they staggered within a half hour? Are they staggered?
No, it's 5. It's 5. It's I think 5 minutes kind of staggering.
Okay.
But the thing is, I don't know how much earlier they start before 3. They say 3 is the number, right?
Yeah.
So that I would find out for you, because I'm not sure how, like, if it's the staggering starts 15 minutes before 3. So that I would have to find out.
Okay.
And
I will, as soon as I'm finished here, I will find that out, Violet, and then I would email you.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Christina, please.
Yeah, I was going to add at Dufferin Peel, I know it's half the alphabet, so say A to K, I think it is. It's released 5 minutes prior to the end of day. And then the whatever, say it like we use 3 o'clock. So they would be released at 2:55, and then at 3 o'clock, their second half of the alphabet would be released. Now, with respect to the entry, so there's no more like bell time, like there's no physical bell that rings anymore at the schools. So even in the morning, when kids arrive, that 15 minutes before that there's usually supervision outside, students can just enter into the building. So I don't think the start sort of impacts it, because they basically just don't play outside. They just go straight in. But yeah, it's 5 minutes at the end of the day.
I know at our board, the kids are told not to come early before. So basically they have to come at the beginning of the school. They're discouraging again that 50 minutes before school drop off.
Yeah, ours, I don't think we've discouraged it. We've just said in that 15 minutes, anyone can sort of come in, so there's not a horde that line up to go straight in.
Oh, okay.
And I know there was a question about the lunch times, and our board, I guess our board's very similar to what Kathy mentioned. You can go home for lunch. I think at the beginning, the recommendation was that there'd be no one going home for lunch, but I think we settled on kids can go home, but parents are not allowed to drop off any food at the school, so parents aren't allowed to come at lunchtime.
Yes, that's the same for us too. Parents aren't allowed to drop food off.
Thank you.
I also have another update that's kind of off topic. So maybe just when we move off this topic, I thought I would speak to it.
I do have a question to Violet, though. Violet, if they are leaving earlier, how does that affect the you guys? Because if you move them up 5 minutes, do you now have to pay them longer, or do you just take that 5 minutes from and just start and do your half an hour?
It could be a financial impact because we like to stay 30 minutes after the bell. So if somebody's getting out at 1:45 and then somebody's getting out at 1/4 after, that means instead of 3 to 3:30, we're working 3:45 to 4:15. So the separate school with the 5 minutes before, that's pretty easy to do. We could just have everybody start 5 minutes before at all schools.
Right.
And it would be easier for us to do it something similar to that and very easy to manage. But with all different times, and then if it changes, I feel like there might be a little bit of a misconnect there with some
Right.
students.
Yeah, and then that was my concern too. Only because if there are some schools that are that, I think the schools also need to know at this point that if they are leaving, and let's just say it is 15 minutes, that there is no crossing guard there now. And that might not be changed until, who knows, a couple of weeks from now or longer. I don't know. But the schools need to know that there's no crossing guards if they decide to send them out early at this time.
Request to speak through the chair.
Yes.
Hi, it's Councillor Williams. You know, with this staggered release or staggered dismissal, this could definitely impact the after-school hours and in a positive way. And I wonder if there's some way to measure the impact to having staggered starts to the amount of congestion that is in the roads and in around the schools. Because I know this is something that's kind of been bounced around. If the schools were willing to stagger some of the dismissals, then we wouldn't have so much congestion and school road safety concerns. So I'm just wondering if it's something that we can monitor or if there's some way to measure. And I guess maybe my question is directed to Craig, if there's something we can do to kind of monitor the impacts of this and get that data and maybe send it to the schools to say, look, is this something that can be implemented long term?
Through the chair, just the sheer volume of schools, counselor that we currently have, we just don't have the resources to monitor the traffic. We do have count stations on more of our collector roadways and arterial roadways, but to actually measure and monitor traffic in and around schools, we just do not have the resources to.
All right, through the chair, is it possible to do maybe some of our highly commented on schools, the schools that have the most traffic safety issues, or even getting some kind of feedback from trustees to know which schools are doing this delayed dismissals. And I know you can usually just do a sample size. It's not to monitor every single school, but I really wonder if this is something that could help to encourage less congestion around our roads. So I think I might just throw that out there, and maybe it's something to brainstorm and think about, because now is a great time to see if there's an impact.
Sorry, I'm just going to say that we also have to say that you were talking about long-term. The long-term effects, if you were letting people out, students, the ones that are coming out 5 minutes early, they're mandated to have the certain amount of minutes per day.
Sorry, Max, it's Chandra. I just want to remind you that we're in question period.
And it's over. Yeah, but we're
leading
following
to a whole. So if that's the case, if this is going to continue to lead into a discussion, we may want to put it differently on the in the minutes, because it's too much to put on the question period. So if we
Yeah,
want to
could we-
add another item to the agenda to discuss issues that are taking place around the school, we can do that. So we'd have to reopen the agenda, add an item for discussion, and continue the discussion, because it's leading into more and more questions and discussions, and it's because we're not
Okay,
just in
and-
question and answers anymore.
Right, I understand. Sorry.
No, it's
Chandra,
okay. Just thought I would, bring
Yeah.
that to your attention, because
So I know that we had a 15-minute time limit, but I was looking at this as a report from the school boards. But there are things that we can sum it up to. I'm just saying that we need to make sure that schools that are releasing early, that we know about them so that we can make sure that there's someone there to safely cross the kids. Two, to have someone circulate around the schools that are going to be the heaviest hit by traffic. Maybe have somebody go there. I'm just trying to summarize. But we also have to understand that there are certain minutes in a day that the students must have. So I don't know if sending them out early is a long-term solution. I know it's only 5 minutes a day, but the ministry might say something, but I don't, right now, I think it's a great idea for the short term, but I'm just putting that out there. And I'm hoping that we keep the kids safe. Does that about sum it up?
Was that directed to me?
Everybody, to anyone.
Yes, yes, that would sum it up. It's just a question to find out the likelihood
Absolutely.
looking into it. Just trying to find some solutions to the concerns that we have on our roads. But thank you.
Okay. So I believe that we'll draw our public question period to a close and hopefully bring up some of these things, because we are meeting again in a couple of weeks. So there are some things that we can think about, and I thank our trustees for giving us that information, as well as all the other folks.
You're welcome.
So please, these minutes are going to be long when you get them, and I apologize, I like to talk too much. So if there's nothing else super pressing, so go ahead, Christina, you forgot to mention something.
Yes, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention this maybe to the committee because it feels like it happened forever ago, but we actually had an elementary school in Brampton that burnt down.
Yes.
So we actually have a school that's holding both schools. So it's maybe a good thing we have the online learning. That traffic shouldn't be as bad, but maybe just so the whole committee is aware that we did have a school that burnt down, and we're still investigating what will become of that school.
Yeah. Thank you.
Could I ask what's the name, through your chair, of the school that burnt down?
St. Leonard Elementary School.
On Conestoga.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard about that. Right. Okay.
So if there's nothing further, do I have a motion to adjourn from anyone?
Yes, I do.
There we go. I think it's passed. Thank you, Michael. So to everyone, please stay safe and healthy, and we will be online again on October 1st at 9:30 a.m. Thank you very much.
Everyone
Thank
have
you.
a